Let's try that microphone. That looks more positive. It defaulted to my VR headset over there, which is odd. So I thought I unplugged it. Anyway, hopefully you can hear me. If you can, just ping a message in the live chat. Thumbs up or something. Don't know if you can do emojis with YouTube. I assume you can. Definitely can with Twitch, although I'm not much of a Twitcher. So today, kind of building off last week, which was, let's share the screen, which was playing around with, somebody has forked my personal GitHub repo. That's I guess he wanted the badges. That's fine. Color picker. Yeah, so last week I was working on the color picker, which is an Avalonia control, which is pretty sweet. And I've kind of been pottering around with it. Where's the branch? Branches. So this is a branch that I updated this morning, 4 hours ago. And it's got more of the UWP, WinUI, really, API. So I'm quite pleased with how this is coming along. It's not ready to go into master yet, and it's certainly not ready for publishing an actual NuGet package for it yet. But I've kind of got a plan as well to port it to Xamarin Forms and some maybe backport to WPF, especially the API and a box. But it got me thinking about all of the different UI controls that, I constantly star projects on GitHub. It's never ending. How many stars do I have? Does it tell me? There we go. 335. 325. My goodness. Can hear. Perfect. Thank you. So I star basically anything I see that looks interesting, even if it's got only just a handful of commits or just a snippet of code that looks intriguing and something that I want to come back to later. But I'm especially prevalent in my starring of projects when they pertain to kind of UI, because to me that's the most fun bit of development, is to create something visual and visually interesting. And there's kind of these endless awesome somethings, so like awesome Blazor, for example. I haven't got an awesome Blazor. Here we go. So we've got these awesome lists, and there's multiple people competing, perhaps on the number of tags that you can throw in there. They're popular on, people like them, but one of the key things with these kind of awesome lists is that they're just a shitload of links, and I kind of want more from that. I want to be able to filter for what I'm looking for, and I want screenshots in particular for the UI controls to know what I'm dealing with. So I had this kind of idea of, well, what about if I built a little website using .NET that would allow me to kind of put together all of the controls that I've starred and that I think are genuinely decent controls and stuff that I would want to use in projects, categorize them in a kind of similar style to Infragistics or Sync Fusion. So, categories of navigation, input, data visualization, throw an Azure search instance in there as well on the back end so that I can easily filter and actually discover the data within the database. And then, build out this little UI for the front end. And I don't have any web development experience. That's kind of a lie. Many years ago I did, and it was many years ago, I was doing raw JavaScript, and it was before JavaScript kind of became its, I mean, what JavaScript is very different nowadays to what it was back when I was using it. I mean, I thought jQuery was the kind of bee's knees dark magic, this huge library that appeared to be able to do everything. And yeah, they didn't really have anything like the kind of ecosystem that exists today. So I was writing a lot of just plain old JavaScript and handcrafting CSS and HTML. So I've kind of got some very, very basic experience, but I certainly don't have experience building web applications. I've got experience building websites, but the application element of it is a bit out of my kind of experience or expertise. But I do have a lot of experience with desktop development, and I keep hearing that Blazor's the way to go, and that you can embed it in Electron or and kind of fake a native application, and that kind of intrigues me a little bit. So I wanted to have a look at it and see what is all the fuss about. Why are people getting excited about this? And can I understand it? Does it work in a way that is natural for me, coming from this kind of desktop WPF and XAML style of thinking about software development? And to bring that all together in this kind of example web application, which is going to be, I've got a whole host of domains that I've registered. I did this yesterday. Let's have a look. This is just a handful of my domains as well. That windowsx.dev. I quite like that one. Yeah, so X controls is really what I'm going to be focused on, which is kind of cross-platform controls. But I'm also going to have things like MAUI controls linked to it, and cross controls and cross-platform controls. They all end in .NET basically. And it will link to this site that I'm going to obviously host in Azure, and you'll be able to search for these UI controls. So I've kind of stubbed out using this awesome, it's awesome, using this awesome Blazor list. I had a kind of squall full. I'll be fine. It's just too hot. My brain isn't functioning. A bit like last week. We had a few days of normality when it came to weather, and now it's just horrifically warm again. Anyway, so I was looking through this list of, it wasn't tutorials, it was components. Here we go. I'm trying to find some reasonably attractive kind of components that I could reuse. And I found this, which is Ant Design Blazor. I think this is from something outside of the world of .NET, maybe like Angular or something. I don't really know. I've heard of Ant before. Anyway, maybe someone else out there knows this. But I saw how it looks. I looked at the demos and I was like, this is pretty nice. Let's see what I can do with this. So this video is going to be, if I'm lucky, the ability to connect into my database, display some stuff within a kind of a grid. So basic CRUD. I've already got the data models designed. That's in a separate project that I'll just reference in. But yeah, to kind of just explore Blazor, and this is using the WebAssembly as well, because apparently that's just the way we do it nowadays. We shove everything into a WebAssembly. So again, I wanted to try that out, and obviously it is another scorcher in London, Cormac. You're quite right. It's unbelievably hot, and I've also got this huge beast of a computer sat next to me, which just it chucks out heat. Although actually, I put my hand at the back of it. It's quite cool. But it is unbelievably hot. I may have to turn the fan on in a bit. I am still drinking coffee, hot coffee no less, as I said in the previous stream, and I know it's beyond illogical, but my theory is if I can raise my core temperature to that of my surroundings, then I will be at equilibrium, and it should be calming. There's logic in there somewhere. Yeah, Uno platform. That's actually something that I'll probably have a look at that next week, to be honest. I tried Uno platform with WebAssembly a couple of months ago, and it got me really excited. And I thought this could be a game changer. You know, I love the XAML approach, but it was just really slow. It was just super slow. But that's something I've heard in general is a critique of this WebAssembly approach, and I believe it's to do with the mono runtime, which is being shipped as part of the WebAssembly. And I don't think WebAssembly applications necessarily have to be slow, because I mean, if we look at stuff like Figma, which you're probably aware of, so Figma's an in-browser design tool, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Let's have a look. I've got some design assets for my personal blog and these videos and things. So this is WebAssembly, but it's compiled from C++. So I kind of wonder if that's, you know, why it's that bit more performant, because it doesn't have, you know, it doesn't have the mono runtime. It's not having to JIT. Although I can't believe that the JIT is really going to be causing the problems here. I think it's mostly that download process of the runtime. And maybe if they can squeeze that down to be smaller, well, you know, more people use it so that it gets cached, then perhaps this does become viable as a delivery mechanism. But yeah, I'm quite excited about exploring Uno a little bit, especially because of the fact that you can use the great tooling that's in Visual Studio for UWP development, and it's got that support for WinUI, which is just on the horizon. We've had version 2 drop of that, or preview 2, I should say, preview 2 of version 3, and I mean, it looks quite nice. I've been quite interested in the development process of that. I know I'm slightly outdated when I say this, but I think that there's still definitely a place for desktop and desktop development, and even if the end result is, you know, running in WebAssembly, that approach to software architecture and software design, I still think is light years ahead of the way that we build web apps. But that's just, you know, it's what you know, isn't it? And that's what I'm comfortable with. I'm sure if I'd come into the software world purely from a kind of JavaScript perspective, that my view on this would be quite different. Because I know lots of people struggle with MVVM, but to me, that feels like slipping into a warm bath. It's, you know, nice and relaxing. I love it. Whereas, you know, trying to go down the React route, for example, my brain isn't geared for that approach. And so it's kind of an uphill struggle for me. But anyway, so I've got this project, which is literally, I've got this @design Blazor. Let me put a link of this in the chat. So I've got this project, and I've followed the setup guide here. So I have something. I mean, let's launch it and see what it looks like in the browser. Of course, it opens on another window. There we go. Hello world. This is a hello world. So it's pretty damn basic. It'd be nice to have this fill out the whole window, but that's not a problem for right this second. At some point, I want to add authentication, but that's just going to be a whole world of pain that I don't want to get into right now. So we're going to leave the front door open. Yeah, because security. Who cares about security? It's not something that you deal with at the beginning. It's obviously something that you would just bolt on at the end. So I guess the first thing I want to do is kind of look at the API for the component. So I need the documentation really for this ant Blazor. Here we go. Static examples. GitHub. Are you trying to tell me that GitHub uses this? Oh, I see. It's just hosted on GitHub. Oh, that's quite cool. Ah, documentation. Perfecto. So, dun, 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 dun. One of the things I'm looking for is the, I guess it's a grid, data grid. Backtop. I don't think the original developers or maintainers of this have English as their first language. I think there's going to be some places where there's some dubious translations, but I can deal with that. It's about the quality of the project more than the legibility of documentation, I think. But I'm struggling to see if there is a data grid. I have made an assumption, and you know what they say about assumptions. They are the mother of all fuck-ups. Surely. I thought I saw one on the picture. They have a tree, a list. I mean, I could use a list. Ooh. Mentions, input, form, date picker. They've got paging. Then one does assume. Again, you know what they say about assumptions. I quite like that control. Layout space, typography. Right, let's search. Grid. But it's not a grid, is it? It's kind of a data grid. Data entry, data display 18. Drop downs, page headers, autocomplete. Oh, perhaps in my excitement. Table. Okay, so we call it a table. See, this is what I mean. I have no concept of web development. I thought a table was something you worked on. Right, how to use. Specify data source. So that feels very kind of WPF MVVM to me, that we have a data source. That's nice. I like this. Can I drag these? Is that possible? No. Is that an option? Is that toggleable? Okay, there are some options for customization. These docs do look very pretty. I'll give them that. Okay, I can work with this. I am slightly intrigued about this data source. Specify data source as an array of data. Okay, let's have a look. They've got this a button. There we go. That allows you to see the code that they've used to specify this. So I'm interested in the C# first and foremost. So this is just from the weather forecast, which I don't think it's actually included in the because this has just come from the default template, so I don't even think it has the weather forecast service included. Ooh, I guess I can write that. It is just dummy data after all. It's not insurmountable. I mean, I do have a project where I could just throw in and connect to the database. It's just there's no data in there. Weather forecast. Oh, okay, they've actually got it all in here anyway. I'm tempted just to wholesale copy and paste this and see what we get. Okay, so we're using the Ant Design table models. Data source equals forecast, which is going to be that array. Yeah, there we go. Which is on the parameter set async. Okay, and that's an override. Now I'm curious about that API. When in doubt, look at documentation. The Blazor frameworks include synchronous and asynchronous lifecycle methods. Override lifecycle methods to perform additional operation on components during component initialization and rendering. Okie dokie. Right, back to, so what are we doing? So when this component is created, and I guess the component in this case is obviously the view which is containing this table, then we've got fetch data, which I guess is going to be linked to some kind of button. Let's see, do I see an actual call for the fetch data? Selected rows, fetch data, here we go, on page index change. Ah, I see, so they pass in E, which I guess is coming from the page number. That would make sense. Okay, I want to get this into Visual Studio and see what's actually happening. There's nothing better than documentation that you can just copy and pasta. Right. Component. What should I call it? Should I just call it weather? I think I will. Whether or not that's a good idea, I don't know. Right. We need to bring in the usings. We don't need the header. We do need this. I'm going to just bring it all. Now let's stop. We'll build solution. Well, it built. That's a relatively good start. But I think I need to provide, isn't there like, yeah, there we go, page slash. I knew there was something. So we'll call this weather. Do I need to like wrap that in a div or something like that and specify that it's content? I don't think I do. I think that's probably enough. So if I come to the nav, no, the main, there we go. Ooh, I thought I had a menu in here. Okay, I'll just, I'll be an animal and I'll just navigate to the URL manually. Oh, it's so warm. I can hear ice cream. Oh, I'd love a 99 right now. That appears to have worked. I'm pretty damn happy with that. Is it properly data bound? Oh my goodness. Okay, what happens if I like select all and then delete one? Does that delete them all? No. Selections. Oh, this is actually really quite nice. Oh, I'm not so big on the old, what language is that? Translate. Chinese. There we go. Simplified Chinese. Still looks pretty complex to me. Okay, how do I tell it to not have Chinese tooltips? That would be a good start. In fact, I'd like to just specify English for everything, please. But oh, there's been an error. Reload. Now, did that error occur in selecting? No. Ah, so the error occurs when you're filtering. Okay, well, that's something to investigate. But still, just on like 2 seconds of copying and pasting, this is usable. This is nice. I like this. And as I say, that whole idea, or the concept of having a data source just feels really natural to me. Obviously, I'm not a fan of all of this guff in here, but that can be easily refracted out into, different classes. Now, I would like to understand, why is this all still selected? Select all, deselect. No. Computer says no. Why is it all... Why is it all grey? I don't like that. And that. Ugh. Why is Visual Studio doing weird things with the highlighting? Or is that just how Razor code is? Surely not. Is that how it's rendered? Is that normal? It's ugly. I don't like it. Not one bit. I might have to restart Visual Studio. That can't be right. Really, that cannot be right. Right, I'm restarting. That's horrible. Yes, I will save. Yes. You can go there. Visual Studio. That one. What is the temperature today? Oh, that's for the Americans. Can I see it in normal, please? I did this last time. How do I toggle this back to a sensible? There we go. It's a button. 33. So it's actually hotter than last week. Wonderful. Right. Oh no, that's still. Oh come on, chuff off. That can't be. That can't actually be how Razor code is rendered in Visual Studio. Surely. It's horrible. Okay, fine. I guess it is. I don't like that. But we can't have everything. I'm going to zoom into 100%. A little bit bigger. Right, now let's see if I can work out where this tooltip is coming from. So we're binding sortable, which actually causes an error. We've got the page index, danger button, context hot. No, I don't see anything about the tooltips. Let's have a look at the API. Is there just a straight API doc that shows me all of the options? That would be quite lovely. Oh, I mean, these tags look really pretty as well. Now, they don't have the filtering on that one. Now, let's see what happens if I... yeah, look. So maybe it's because it can filter. Sortable. Sortable. So what if I remove this sortable? When in doubt, just give it a go. Let's rerun that. We're going to want to go to weather. Okay, well that's better. I can't sort it, but I can live with that. Now, is there a variable for specifying how many are on the page? Yeah, page size. Oh, wonderful. So we can do like 30 on a page. Woo! A helicopter nearby. Get a lot of police helicopters flying around here. I think their base must be fairly local. I used to stand on my rooftop and wave at them. Set selection. Now, I wonder why they've commented that out. Remove. Okay. Now, what would be nice is live reload, but I don't think that does that work with Webassembly? Don't know. I don't think it does. Let's try changing something. Let's try changing some data. Let's see if that helps. days. So it's just pulling in random temperatures. Display name. Okay, I'm just going to change the display name. Test. Okay, so it wants to save. Yes, I would love to replace that. Thank you very much. Reload. So I think I have to literally redeploy in order to see the changes. That's fine. Very old school, but I can deal with it. I can deal with it. I have the ability. Right, I think I probably... Look at the launch settings. Okay, so we've got some... Not 100% sure what the best way forward is. So I'm going to bring in a package. Do we have the... We've got device. So I've got somewhere... I've got a project which is called xcontrols.data. And it's using Entity Framework because performance isn't such a problem here. And here we go. I wanted something nice and easy, or at least well documented, I should say. Oh, excuse me. Where the hell? Where is this? Where does this live? There it is. Right, add existing project. Into there you go. Back it up. Oh no, that's actually where I want it to be. Let's check that builds. It's uncomfortably warm in here. Da na 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 na. Okay, well that built, that's good. So I guess I'm going to need some packages in here, which is going to be entity framework.design something, I think. Entity framework.core.design, that will probably do. I'll take it. I'll take it. What else am I going to want to add? Apache Ignite Gitter. Should probably shut that down. That might be good enough. Let me check that I am actually adding all the correct. Yeah, I think that's probably all I actually need. Okay, cool. So then I also want to add the app settings, which I'm definitely not going to show on the screen. He says, but it doesn't look like it's going to play ball. Come on now. Come now. You can do it. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'm going to put it on the other screen and I'm going to copy it over and then manually add it. Because that's obviously got all the keys to my database and everything, which currently has the door wide open. Ah! Everything has disappeared. Just what I wanted. So X controls. Yeah, cool. Is that shown up? Ah! You didn't see that. Cockinell. Yes, close all documents and don't be opening that one when I click on it like a bloody idiot. Right, so I've got that. That's what I needed. Bloody perfect that is. Someone's playing percussion outside. Or there's a woodpecker, but I don't think woodpeckers are natural here, so most likely someone playing an instrument. Right, need to bring over. I've got some snippets that because I started this with the server project, with the server side rendering, and then as I was like looking more into it, and everyone's getting so excited about the WebAssembly stuff that I was like, I've got to do this with the WebAssembly. If it's going to be done, you've got to do it with the latest and greatest. So I've got some code, but it's like a tiny amount of code because this morning I was quite busy trying to sort out stuff for mortgages and nonsense. Add DB context. Where is that defined? I guess that's going to be in it. Apparently, no, that's in that names. Okay, I'm thoroughly confused. So add services. What have we got? Add singleton, add transient. So what I want to do is over in the, here we go, in the server version, I have the following API. Services .add DB context. Now I have just assumed, and again, you know what they say about assumptions, add DB context and database context, which isn't defined yet because it's in a project that's not referenced, but that's easy to fix. This leads me to think that I am missing a dependency. Surely not. Surely you can't be resolved just like that. Is that really all that I needed to do? There we go. That's all I needed to do. Magic. It's magic. It's magic. No. There's a song on the radio at the moment that's been driving me mad for bloody ages. Because it starts with a really familiar. I mean, DJs are doing this all of the time at the moment, but it like stealing bits of other songs and repurposing them. Like there's is it that Aha? Dun 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 dun. I've heard the drum beat from that in one song and then the bass line in another song. And anyway, there's this song that's on the radio at the moment, and we listen to it Dutch radio called Slam. And they shout it every now and again, Slam! And yeah, it's it starts with the same kind of melodic structure as Shock to the Heart, that one. Yeah, and it was driving me mad for ages. I was like, what the hell is that? What song is that? And I worked it out yesterday, and now I'm struggling to get the original out of my head. Who needs love? What was I doing? I know, I was coding. It builds. That's reasonably positive. Okay, so it's building. I'm adding the DB context into the services, which means I should be able to inject that in theory. But I also have a service that I created within that. No, I didn't. See, that's interesting. So these are literally just kind of my entity objects. Got a base entity which has the kind of ID on it and the bits of guff that I'm going to want within my database. And we've got the UI control, which inherits from item base, because I may expand this to be more than just UI controls. It's got a name, description, it's got some external links, and the links have got some extra data in it. So, for example, the image, which itself contains multiple versions. So this is all kind of leading up to using various different services to build out this application. So, for example, this will be using Azure Cognitive Services image resizing, which is going to crop these images intelligently. So what will happen is the new control will get added, which contains the image, which will just have the original image. That will then throw some payload into a queue, which will get picked up by probably an Azure function. Probably. I may do something else instead, but it's most likely going to be an Azure function that grabs that original image, or sorry, the payload off the queue, takes the URL for the image, which is obviously going to be in blob storage, passes it into the cognitive services for image resizing, and then once it's resized, it'll store it back into blob storage and then write the values for the rest of the images, and then update this entity in the original database. So that way it's kind of dealing with the photos or screenshots is what they will be, in an asynchronous way. We're not going to have to sit and wait for these images to resize during that upload process. We can upload, boom, it's in the server and it's queued up to be processed. On the web stuff, on the external URLs, I'm using, again, I think it's another cognitive services, cognitive service, website preview, web preview, site preview. It's one of these really difficult APIs to find because I don't even, it's been in preview for ages. Site preview. Cockinell, where is it? Maybe I need to include Azure. I shouldn't need to. Do you know what? That's frustrating because I found, maybe if I search with is family friendly, I'll find the actual documentation for it. Must include. Search results, that could be positive. URL preview, there we go. Oh, this is a colleague that's written about it. CFP, but can I find the original service? As I say, this is one of those services that is a little difficult to find, but once you found it, it's easy. There we go, URL preview. So I've used this before in another app that I built, which was a Xamarin app. And then I rebuilt it in Swift actually as well. But that thing had a huge logic app for the back end. I didn't write any code for it. And it would connect to the RSS feed for my colleagues on the advocate team. And anytime they published a new post, it would run that through the URL preview service and some other things, some various other services, and then it would write to Cosmos and then send out a silent notification for the devices to update. And I really quite like it because number one, you could get the primary image, which was perfect for what I was looking for, which was to create that kind of news headline box or cell view. And they always look better with the images, and I didn't just want to take the first image that you find on the web page. So this has some level of intelligence to it. Also being able to filter by family friendly is quite important. That is active, that's just something I've thrown in there. Then I've got an account, obviously not storing passwords in there because I'm going to be using some authentication service. Let's tidy this up a tad. I don't know what authentication service I'm going to use. It kind of makes sense to just go with GitHub and just auth directly with them. But I'm almost tempted to explore using a third party. I really like Auth0. That's normally my go-to because their documentation is always fantastic. And I like their portal. I like the ease of use of it. But if I'm just going to do GitHub, then I probably don't need to that kind of go down that route. So anyway, I've got the data. I need to create some services. So let's create a folder. Services. And this is just going to kind of be an abstraction on top of the data that's going to sit in the database. So it's kind of a repository more than a service. iData service base. I'll define an interface for it, and we'll make it public. And naturally, we're going to use tasks because we're not animals. We want to use async, and we'll use generics. I actually need to define that up here, where T entity is a class iBase entity. So iBase entity is defined in this puppy. So I'm going to say that anything that implements the iBase entity is worthy of use or using this API. So it can be an entity item. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to do create. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm leaning towards doing create async, because that tends to be the norm, doesn't it? That people are like, it's async. Ignore what it's returning. You should name it async as well. In my mind, you don't really need the async. I get it if you're going to create a synchronous version under it that just returned T entity and you just called it create. Then having the create async makes sense. But if you're only going with async first, then I kind of think it's redundant. But I'm going to keep it anyway. It's staying. I'm going to roll with it because I think that's what most web developers would be doing. And I'm trying to pretend to be a real one today. So we'll call it entity. And we're going to create some more things. T entity, and this one's going to be read async, and we will pass in an int, which is going to be the ID, and bool for tracking, and we're going to set that to true. And then we're going to need maybe read all. We'll just return a list. I mean, I could make that an I list or an I enumerable, I guess. I should probably make that an I enumerable, but I've got past it now, so we're going to carry on because you only live once. I should also probably add some options to set the size of what you're reading all for, like the page size, but you only live once, and this is meant to be quick and dirty, and it's definitely going to be dirty. T entity, I guess this should probably be an update. Update async, and then I'll pass in the int for the ID, and then I need to pass in the actual entity, so T entity, and we'll call it entity to update. That's a horrible name, but it's very clear. It's very clear. What else do I need to do? I need to delete, don't I? Delete. I don't need, yeah, that's fine. Delete, and I'll just pass in. Should I make it a soft? I'll just do soft delete by default for everything. I was going to say, like, maybe pass in a boolean and say whether or not, like, this is a real delete, or if it's just, you know, yeah, delete it, but secretly not, which is the way of the web. So I guess I probably want to implement a base class now that implements this interface, because this is enterprise grade development. Why am I writing public in there? Data service base. Public needs to be abstract, thank you very much. And it needs to be T entity. Whew. iBase service T entity where class I base entity. Come on now. Come on now. Why are you complaining at me? Have I done something very dim here? Is it just that it's not implementing the interface? Because I can deal with that. I'm getting there. I need to be more patient. Or is it the where clause? No, surely not. Where, think about this, Mike, think about this. Where T entity is a class I base entity. Oh, okay, yeah. So I was just being really thick. That's fine. I can deal with my own stupidity. It's one of the where syntax is one of the ones that trips me up every now and again. But again, I can deal with that. Right, so we want protected so that the classes that inherit can get access to this puppy, and we'll do database context, and we'll call it database context. Nice and easy. We'll do protected data service base, and we'll pass in data context that's using the dependency injection. Ooh, underscore. Naming is very important. I'm so unbelievably uncomfortable in terms of how warm it is. I might actually pass out on stream. Database set. Oh my goodness. T entity. No. We're using generics here. We're using generics. T entity. Thank you very much. Add async, I would guess. Hurrah. Entity. Yes, you've got it. Apparently you haven't got it. That is not correct. Why is that not correct? Aha. So number one, that needs to be async, and number two, I want it to be virtual because I want to be able to easily override that. Reasonable. Okay, I'm happy with that. And it still needs to return the entity, but I also need to save the changes. Ugh. So I guess await database context, save changes, async, always async, always async. This is what I mean about this throwing on async on the end of everything. It's like a programming tick, isn't it? You just can't stop yourself from saying it. Right, delete. Let's just get rid of all of these. Oh, look at that. That shouldn't be down there. Right, delete. I don't really want to do delete just yet. I mean, it's all, what's going to be the easiest? Read all? Read all's probably fairly easy. I need to bring in link, don't I, if I'm going to do some of this. Using system.link. Link. System.link. Thank you very much. It was the missing link. Ha ha! Read all, yeah. So read all's fairly easy. Var. I'm just going to query the database context set. T entity. Oh, my little finger hurts from using the shift key. As queryable. As queryable? Yeah, I think it's queryable. Oh, I'm going to use await again, which is going to be like, oh, you need to make this async. So then if I'm making it async, I'm going to make it virtual so I can override it later on if I want to, which I possibly will, and then it becomes query.toList because I'm returning a list. Look at that. It's almost like I thought about it, although I'm not passing in any cancellation tokens, which feels a bit dirty. Oh, you dirty, dirty boy. Okay, I guess let's have a look. Kind of shuffling around windows over here. Got half an eye on the documentation, which is always a good thing. At least then I'm not going to go completely awry. Okay, I'll do read next, given that I'm here. Query equals, I mean, it's basically this, isn't it? Yes, sirree. And then if we're not tracking, then we'll do query equals query as no tracking. Then we want to return, it's going to be async again, virtual. Should probably just, yeah, I'm going to preempt myself. Return, await query, and look at that, I preempt myself earlier. First or default, only I'll do x.id equals id, and sorry, that's not quite right. It needs to be x.deleted. There we go. Better. So I'm just saying that if it's not been deleted, which is that whole soft delete nonsense that I was mentioning earlier. And the update. Have I done the delete yet? No, I haven't. So I can write to it, I can read from it, I can update it, and can he delete from it? I thought I just said I could delete from it. No. Well, let's deal with delete then. Var entity equals await, read async. So we'll get, I didn't preempt myself very well. We'll get the item, if entity equals null, then we'll throw a new null reference exception. It is a null reference, although unable to find entity with ID. All right, back it up. We're going to use string interpolation, and we're going to do ID. There we go. Bloody lovely. That is lovely. Set the deleted flag. Yes, please. Deleted equals datetime offset now, and then we're going to update it into the database. Entity state unmodified. Oh yes, await data context. I want to save it. I want to save this. Database context save changes async. Yes, please. Thank you very much. I appreciate your hard work there, IntelliSense. Without you, I would be a terrible developer. With you, I'm mediocre. Update record. So I guess we want to check that it exists. So we'll do something similar to before. Entity equals await. Read. Yes, read ID. Yes, please. So do we actually have this? If entity equals null, then we'll throw another exception. Through? No. Throw new. I'm still going to use null reference. Debating whether or not I should just throw an exception, or if, I mean, it is a null reference. The reference that comes back is null, but it's not actually a null reference because it's ultimately coming from the fact that there's no data in the database that matches that. But it's details, and details aren't important right now, so we'll just say, I guess I should probably say the same thing as up here, shouldn't I? There we go. Copying, pasting, so much quicker. Right. I guess a bit like before where I did the entry entity.state, I can probably current values. What do we get? Set values. Okay. I'm hesitating because I'm not 100% sure that this is valid. I think it should work. We'll go with it. It's not underlined red, so basically that's going to work. And I think now I will actually just do the state modified, and then if data context entry entity properties, any property I don't mind. I always use X, and if I've used X, I'll use Y. Is modified. So if there's any that are modified, then we'll go ahead and we'll do database save changes, and then we return entity. Cool. Cool. So I think if it builds, I'm happy with that. Come on now. Come on now. Oh yes, it builds. Moving on. Right, I want to do framework data service. Framework data service? Yeah, we'll do framework data service, which is going to inherit from base service? No, base data service base. Data service base, and we'll pass in the framework model. Now, do I need to specify? Nope, we're cool. That's looking reasonably positive to me. You know what I might just do? Because we're doing enterprise development, I'm going to create an interface for this. And it will inherit from, obviously, data service base, and there we'll pass in the framework. Nice. And then, boom in. Don't need none of you. So then if I need to extend this data service to do more things, it doesn't actually get in the way of anything else. That's nice. I like that. So into program. I guess I want to now register that service so that it can be injected. Services dot add scoped. Add scoped. I think it's probably scoped. Can I use generics for this? Can I now do framework data service and then pass in the concrete? Come on, let that be possible. That looks like it's possible. Maybe not. Where is that? Oh, I see. I'm a bloody cretin. It's so hot. Okay, that still builds. Right, back to weather. Back to the weather with John. It's still bloody hot. Next up, sports with Bat. Right, so as I mentioned earlier, I want to use this inject. And I'm going to inject iframework data service. And we'll call this framework data. The thing about web stuff, or with any new technology, it's like understanding what is good naming. And like, how should I be capitalizing things? Should this be an uppercase F? Should this be a lowercase f? What is the norm? It's easier when you're just copying and pasting other people, because then you can just use their examples. Anyways, so I'm going to bring in this framework data, which will hopefully then be available. Come on now, this cannot be the way that Razor pages are handled within Visual Studio. I might actually switch to Visual Studio Code because it's almost insultingly ugly. Why is it grey? Why? Seriously, I want to see a screenshot of Visual Studio blog. New experimental editor. Maybe I need to turn that on. When was this? Huh? Oh, that was new. Enables Razor language support for all Razor editors. Okay, because I'm not enjoying known issues. What are the known issues? JavaScript and CSS IntelliSense support. Sorry, have not been fully implemented. Ooh. Formatting doesn't support Razor syntax. URL picker. I mean, that's quite a few. Let's have a butcher's. Where was it? Preview features. Why don't I have a preview features? Or do I? No. Environment. Okay, maybe I do. Yes, I do. I do. Why don't I have that option? Use preview of .NET Core. Ah. Yeah, by default. I don't want to use it by default. The new Git experience. I would quite like that as well. Why don't I have... What version of Visual Studio am I running? So this is 16.7 preview 4. It's all cutting edge, isn't it? Oh, there we go. I'm not running the latest version. I tried the previews and it wasn't working very well. Oh, I could use Rider. Doesn't seem like a very sensible thing to do on a Microsoft live stream, does it? But it's just horrific. Ugh. I could use Visual Studio Code, but I like a proper IDE, please. I'll stick with it. I'll stick with it. It's irritating. It's very, very irritating. So I guess on this override, it's going to be an array of framework, isn't it? Frameworks. Why are you... Okay, I was about to get upset. Also, where the hell... It said sample data. Where the hell did that sample data... Aha! It was always here. I didn't know that was there. Well, there we go. I genuinely, like... I was wondering where that was coming from. I should have just stopped and read the code, shouldn't I? Cretin. He's a bloody cretin, that man. Frameworks equals frameworks. What the hell did I call it? It wasn't that. Hang on. You're in the wrong bloody file there. What are you doing? What are you doing? So hang on. Fetch data. Well, I never. So is that using the fetch data? I don't think it is. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was generating them on the fly, which is what it's actually doing. This formatting is horrific. Ugh. What if I change theme? Would that make it prettier? I'm not very, very happy with this. Right. Framework. Frameworks. I guess I should probably just... I'm literally just going to replicate the API here. So I can get rid of that poppy. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to leave iTable because that makes sense to be left. But then I'm going to need the whole frameworks equals await and then frame. It was data framework. What the hell did I call it? Framework data. Yeah, okay. Why did you forget that, you idiot? Framework data. Read all. Read all about it. Read all async. To array. I see what's happened here. And that's going to be... Oh no, that's ugly as sin. This is horrible. Once we've awaited it, I'll then assign it. What are you doing with this? Is just vulgar. Your mother would be ashamed of you, Mr. James. Your mother would be ashamed. I don't know this boy. Nothing to do with me. No, I didn't raise an animal like that. I can assure you. We brought him up proper. I don't know where he went wrong. I don't really need the rest of the guff. I mean, that's probably still going to return some crap that I don't really want. They're doing the task from Resizing. Very good, very good. Right. Frameworks. ID. There is no date in this context. I think the frameworks is rather simplistic. So the context isn't actually type safe. Now, no, it could be. It could just be. Is it? Or isn't it? See, in my little mind, the brain of an idiot over here, I assumed, yeah, so it understands. Okay, now it understands. Cool. Data.framework. Cool, so I was expecting it to have IntelliSense, and when it didn't, I assumed that I had sausaged something. Supported platforms. Actually, because it's already got the date modifier, let's do created. Then we can do the name. This is a temperature. Don't need that. I don't need that. Supported platforms. I'll take it. I also would like, I'm going to call that platforms. Control count. Now this is a guess, but I'm assuming that I can do something like UI controls, which is an I collection, and then just count. We'll see. Why do you have an extra arrow? I don't know. You're coming with me, sir. And there's also an updated, isn't there? Last updated. Yes, I'll take it. Action, space, danger, on-click, delete, context, delete. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. Selected.summary. We'll do .name. Don't need that. Not going to need the summaries. You need to change your ways. We don't like your type round here. Also don't like that name, to be fair. Why is my caps lock constantly turning on? A key I don't use, and yet it still exists. Yeah, I mean, no, I just don't need that. Data.framework, which is on change. Okay, you're just writing, cool. I like that. Interesting. Delete. Yeah, you can be commented out. I mean, if this works, then I can whack in the delete again. Apparently I don't need, I think I don't need component model, but because of the horrible rendering that Visual Studio is making me endure, I'm not actually sure. Oh, and it's still called weather because I'm a bloody idiot. Weather. I wasn't sure whether that was correct or not. An unhandled error occurred. Reload. Where did you occur? Can you throw an exception? I mean, that's not quite nice. I prefer desktop development where you sausage something and it truly tells you, like, yeah, you've sausaged that, and it's this line of code that caused the problem. And here's the full stack trace to prove that it was you that were the idiot and not me. But here, nah, something went wrong, mate. Fine, sort it out yourself. All right, I guess I'll try and work that out. Thank you. Inspecting source isn't helpful, is it? Okay. Dun, 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 dun. If I put breakpoints in here, will they be hit? Does debugging work how I expect debugging to work? And now I've got REO Speedwagon in my brain. How did that happen? Weather. Loading. Okay, so either it fails before it hits that loading, or I mean, it's really not that helpful. Surely there's... Do I not have like with normal ASP.NET, isn't there a way to tell it to like actually give me something useful? When something goes wrong, show me something useful. Don't just... Yeah, look at it. I mean, that is the least useful thing. Like debug exception toggle or something. Let's have a look. Blazor, Webassembly, exception. Exception, view, output. Handling errors in ASP.NET Core. UI for part of the project templates customizing the server app. Most recent, blah, 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 managed log errors. Just throw a damn exception and show me the line that it crashed. Making me read all of this guff. I mean, I don't have time to read all of this. Receiving fixing the issue when it occurs. App displays a gold bar at the bottom. Yes, I've got the gold bar of doom. During development, the gold bar directs you to the browser console where you can see the browser console contains it. Inspect. 83 problems. Right. Entry already exists. Good-o, we're into JavaScript. My favourite. Weather. So it's definitely something gone awry. How do I get rid of that? How do I make this bigger? Is there a way to make... Yes. Separate window. Thank you very much. Okay, now format. Yes! Okay, this is a lot of guff. So has this come from Blazor.webassembly? So I guess this is part of the Blazor framework. Right. I've got sweat rolling into my eyes as I try and work out what the chuff is going on with this. Loaded files. Here's a nice long error. Framework data service. Oh, okay. So it couldn't locate. There we go. Couldn't locate a suitable constructor. Why not? I'm pretty sure that should just work. I mean, let's try making that public. I say let's try. That should be public. Why did you make it protected? You cannot protect everything, sir. I feel like I should go and run my head under a cold shower. I mean, the rest of me needs that as well, but at least my head. Come on now, come on. Oh. Oh, there's more! Or did it just keep these from the last ones? Oh, I don't like that it doesn't just... The reason I like C# and Visual Studio is that when I make a mistake, it just... Boom! This is where you cocked up. And there's normally enough information in it for me to start digging into what's gone wrong. And if not, I can put a breakpoint in and I can see... Well, I mean, to be fair, I haven't actually tried putting a breakpoint in. No element is currently associated with component 81. Oh, component 81! Yes! Oh, I remember component 81. What? Client handler. Dun 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 dun. Entry already exists. Okay, well, there's definitely something in here that it doesn't like. I wonder how far back I can strip this whilst still having some semblance of usability. Okay, let's away with you. Sorry. There we go. I was about to complain again. Fetch data. I don't think you're being used anywhere. Also, odd that they used a lowercase on. I mean, for me, all methods, regardless of their visibility, should always start with a capital in my eyes. But I'm not using it, so you can go away. on change. Well, that's just, I mean, we never even hit that breakpoint, but then I don't know if breakpoints work. If they don't, then it feels rather crap, to be honest. Let's get rid of you. I'm also going to get rid of you. I want the absolute bare minimum. Yep, you can go away. That's not what I wanted to do. I don't... Oh, that's going to be annoying. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Copy, get rid of you, bring you back. Bring you back. On page index changed, you can go away. Total comes from total. Table ref, which is down to here. Where does that... I mean, was that ever assigned in the original? I can't even remember. Table. What is used? I mean, that's not helpful, is it? So it's defined there, but I don't see where it's actually assigned. But perhaps just this ref, I'm going to guess that this ref keyword is then assigning that variable to this component. That's my assumption. It's probably wildly inaccurate, but if we go with that assumption and continue and it works, then I will be feeling ever so confident. So I'm also just going to get rid of these for the moment. So we should end up with basically an empty view. Hopefully cooling a wee bit into the service. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Weather. I've really mixed feelings about this at the moment. Oh look, the bar's back. Oh, but we did get an empty view. So that's different, with some more simplified Chinese. Inspect. Oh, we're down to 83, so that's 5 less problems than originally encountered, but still 83 too many. Also, that's absolutely massive. Why is it so big? Oh, yes, okay. Right. I mean, here's the thing about, the CLR in general. There's a performance hit through loading in assemblies, right? So the kind of mantra of developers looking to build performance systems has always been, less is more in terms of assemblies. So if you can, don't split your assemblies up into lots of little assemblies, because of the overhead of loading those in. And yet here we are with .NET having been split out into various different assemblies, which, I mean, maybe it's all changed with .NET Core and I just haven't, read an updated book on the matter. But I certainly remember with .NET Framework, one would try and avoid too many individual assemblies and put stuff into logical groupings where possible. I can't remember what book it was that I was reading that outlined that. Oh yes, it's over there. CLR via C#, 4th edition. It's like literally the opening few chapters discusses assemblies and the performance hit that's incurred. No database provider has been configured for this DB context. Aha, okay. Add DB context to the application service provider. If DB context is used, then ensure that your DB context type accepts the DB context options, T context objects in its constructor, and pass it to the base constructor for DB context. No database provider has been configured. So perhaps does that want to be content? I think that's correct. But now I'm dubious as to whether or not my settings in there are valid, but they should be. Okay, back to program. Let's have a look. Get with the program, Mr. James. Right. It's too bloody hot to concentrate. I'm just looking at the startup CS for the server version that I created, because that's all working fine. Let's have a butchers and see, do I ever actually get into the constructor? X controls data. So I'm using reflection to get these objects, but that shouldn't be a problem, because the thing it's moaning about is that the constructor is not even getting there. I love me a bit of reflection. Got to reflect on how you're doing. Again, nothing, but I like, okay, let's Google this. Blazor debugging. Not working. I mean, that's a pretty good sign that something isn't right, but let's check. Debug, yes, that's what I am trying to do. Daniel, please enlighten me. Apps can be debugged using the browser. No. Alternatively, you can yes, that's what I would like to do. Available scenarios include set and remove breakpoints. I've been doing that, but evidently it doesn't work. Run the app with the debugger support in Visual Studio. Yes, that is what I'm doing. Single step, yeah, F10 through the code. Yes, I've been. If I could hit the breakpoint, I would start to step about. See the call stack. I mean, that would also be absolutely lovely. But we don't break on unhandled exceptions, which is hit breakpoints during app startup. I mean, that's fairly significant, but fine. This isn't crashing during app startup. Oh, to enable debugging on an existing Blazor WebAssembly app, update the launch settings.json file in the startup project to include the following inspect URI property in each launch profile. Ugh, why is that not a default? Who's building software without debugging it? No. Ugh. And now I've just loaded the file that I didn't want to load. Where's this launch? There we go. Launch settings, I think it was. Oh, it's already there. Is it? Yes. No. What? Huh? Framework debug. Yes. So it's already there. Once updated, it should look similar. Yes, it does. Correct. Enables the IDE to detect that the app is a Blazor WebAssembly app. Instructs the script debugging infrastructure to connect to the browser through Blazor's debugging proxy. The placeholder values, okay, provided, so, right. Okay, right, let's have a look to see if the, where are you now? There we go. Counter. Loading. Yeah, okay, so that's counting. Can I put a breakpoint in here as shown in the picture, which also has the horrible grey background or grey highlighting of just ugh. What? Okay, so I can. This is good news. This is good news. Well, maybe what is there another override in which I could use to after render on initialized should render on initialized async. Let's try that. Now, why are you complaining? Oh, there we go. So maybe if I just do this, I'll leave that in case I need to come back to it. When in doubt, just do nout. Dun, 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 dun. I don't think the breakpoint will be hit. I can't even place a breakpoint. So hang on. Oh yeah, because you're not assigning anything, you absolute idiot. Build errors. Build errors. Oh. Go on, work. No. What's this actually returning? A task. Okay. But you don't want me to. Right, I just want to know. Don't judge me now, don't judge me now. I just want to know what the hell's going on. Apparently not. Oh yeah, well that makes sense. Apparently not. What are you complaining about now, Visual Studio? Surely, isn't it? I mean, I don't do this because it's horrible, but surely that's how we do this. Yeah, it's got a star, which suggests that lots of people would just go for the result. I mean, I know it's dirty. Cannot be used like that. You can't use that. Like a method. That makes sense because it's a property. Cretin. Total cretin. Read what's in front of you. I never use .result, that's why. Right, to weather. Whether or not this works, I do not know. Well, no breakpoint's been hit, but an error has occurred. $83 errors still. Uncaught in promise. Oh, he's always breaking his promises, is that boy? I mean, it's just... I know this is meant to be magic, but it doesn't feel like magic. Sometimes when you use tech, or I find this when I use tech, like the first few times genuinely feel magical and you're like, oh, this is amazing, and you're able to like get levels of productivity that are just head and shoulders above what you're used to. But this actually feels like a real step backwards. But again, I don't do web development, so I'm kind of coming into this with the wrong mental model of everything. And looking at Edit's debug tools and seeing issues in JavaScript, and it's not necessarily the technology, but I still think that if I were to be building, I mean, this is obviously going to be a web page, so it needs to run in the browser. But I'm not sure that I would go down this route for building a native application. But I use native kind of loosely because you can make it look. And with Xamarin, I've seen kind of native controls. Yeah, I think I would still just roll with the genuine native app, be it something like Avalonia or Uno. Heaven forbid Xamarin. It's a joke. Yeah, over this, certainly for desktop stuff, I think, yeah, this interaction with the DOM and the fact that it's still built on this JavaScript, it's just, my views on JavaScript aren't great. I genuinely think it's an abomination. Tooling, what am I looking for? I guess I'm kind of going to need to read some docs on Entity Framework, Blazor, Webassembly. Oh look, someone's written a blog post. Maybe that's going to help me. That's fairly recent as well. Okay. Yeah. See, now I don't have that. Don't have the ASP.NET Core element, but that surely isn't going to be a problem. Is it that I'm missing packages? Is that the problem? Let me have a quick perusal of the packages that I'm using in the server version. No, I mean literally just one package, which is the Entity Framework Core Design. And we have this extensions.configuration.json. I'm definitely going to want that in this puppy, but I assume it doesn't. Maybe this could be the problem, that it can't read the configuration, but it should be able to, because actually this bit, the code doesn't actually need to read the configuration. It needs to just be read within here. But we'll go with it anyway. I don't think that's going to work. I mean, that's confusing in and of itself. So you're trying to create an application, and then you end up with, what was that, 3 different? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 different projects within the solution. Whether or not you'll work, I don't think you will. No, you won't. What a load of cock. Still 83 errors, and it's still going to be that bloody DB context. All right, let's have a look then. DB context. 2019. Morgan, please be my savior. Oh, I'm going to cry. Not because I'm upset, but because I'm sweating into my eyeballs. Use the previews. You live dangerously, sir. See, that looks like he's three of 3 projects. I don't have 3 projects. I have 2 I have 1 project and a data project. Okay, that looks more like what I have. Closing thoughts. No, you can't close yet. I've not even seen your opening thoughts. Set up Blazor. Is what? I ran Visual Studio in admin mode. Not sure what issue I encountered, but it seemed to have fixed it. Well, that's classic Visual Studio, isn't it? So I've used. Where's my terminal? I can see where I've added the package. Right, now I'm curious. So that's literally the command I ran. So what did that create for me? Now I have that .NET version installed. I'm sure I do. .NET version. I've got one even newer. Come on, tab away, sir. All right, you'll stay in there. You'll stay in there. I'll bring the whole window. Here we go. Look at that. 5. 5's better than 3. What has my life become? To maximize your productivity. Okay, well, I'm running 16.6 even. What is Blazor WebAssembly? In case this is your first time learning about Blazor, let me introduce you to what Blazor WebAssembly is all about. Blazor is an open source and cross-platform web UI framework for building single-page apps using .NET and C# instead of JavaScript. Blazor is based on a powerful and flexible component model for building rich, interactive web UI. You implement Blazor UI components using a combination of .NET code and Razor syntax, an elegant melding of HTML and C#. Blazor components can seamlessly handle UI events, bind to user input, and efficiently render UI updates. Blazor components can then be hosted in different ways to create your web app. The first supported way to call Blazor is called Blazor Server. In a Blazor Server app, the component runs on the server using .NET Core. All UI interactions and updates are handled using a real-time WebSocket connection with the browser. Blazor Server apps are fast to load and simple to implement. Support for Blazor Server is available with .NET Core 3.1 LTS, long-term support. Blazor WebAssembly is now the second supported way to host your Blazor components, client-side in the browser using a WebAssembly-based .NET runtime. Blazor WebAssembly includes a proper .NET runtime implemented in WebAssembly, a standardized bytecode for the web. This .NET runtime is downloaded with your Blazor WebAssembly and enables running normal .NET code directly in the browser. No plugins or code transpilation are required. Blazor WebAssembly works with all modern web browsers, both desktop and mobile. Similar to JavaScript, Blazor WebAssembly apps run securely on the user's device from within the browser's security sandbox. These apps can be deployed as completely standalone static sites without any .NET Server component at all, or they can be paired with ASP.NET Core to enable full-stack web development with .NET, where code can effortlessly shared with the client and server. Okay, so I think that was fun doing that voice. I think that I've got the whole without ASP.NET Core, which is probably what that command was all about. That puppy there. New Blazor WASM. But I assume I can still use Blazor also to me. British people will understand this. We have the ability to make anything sound like you're drunk. And I think there's a Michael McIntyre joke about this, about how you can basically fill in any word to describe someone as being drunk. Oh, he's gazeboed is the famous one. But to me, blazored, oh, he's blazored, sounds like something you would do in Amsterdam. Oh, we went there and got totally blazered. Anyway. What's next? Yes. Okay, right. So I guess EF... Oh, new tab. EF core Blazor wasm. But I don't want the ASP.NET Core bit, or do I? And is it too late? I think that's probably what the problem is. So I'm guessing. I'm guessing I need to read more documentation. Performance and best practices. Debugging. Well, we know that what a cluster that is. Layouts, globalization, supported. Right. Virtualize and avoid JavaScript. Interrupt to marshal data. In Blazor WebAssembly, a JavaScript JS interrupt call must traverse the WebAssembly JS boundary. So I guess it's a bit like the Xamarin style of things, where you have the interrupt to the native side, the Objective-C for iOS and Java for Android. But I mean, it's not. Oh my goodness! Look at this. Yawning. Wake up, young man. Adversely affect performance. Now I wonder why that is. Because it's not. You know, in the world of native interop, it's not a particular not a particular problem in terms of, you know, that moving data across those two contexts. But it's saying serializing and deserializing contents. Interesting. I'd be curious. Yeah, I guess. I guess when you're dealing with native stuff, you just, you know, you want to pass an object, you pin it in memory, and then throw the function or method that you want to call in the native land a pointer. And I guess that isn't relevant here. You're passing text around. I mean, that feels pretty disgusting if you ask me. But it's the web. The beautiful web. Implements, relies on, yeah, there we go. So you're literally passing around some JSON. But they did do some really good work on the whole serialization and deserialization of JSON. It was significantly faster with .NET Core. Still, asynchronous and unmasked JS interrupt APIs were appropriate. I mean, this doesn't get me any closer to where I want to be. I guess it's client side? No, that's not it. Offline support. Just feels very odd to me. For building WebAssembly host. So perhaps what I need to do is create an ASP.NET Core project and then just reference this xcontrols, which has got the app within it, and then mess around in the startup CS. Maybe. But I'm a tad confused, to be perfectly honest with you. What's this trying to be? I think I need to really understand these different templates. Where is it? Here we go. So this .NET Core templates. Arguments, okie dokie, big and a bulky. Let's go a bit bigger, shall we? So tags, okay, template. So Blazor server, Blazor WebAssembly app. What is their definition of an app? Because I think it might be wildly different than mine. I mean, we have a web app. I get web app. I mean, that's got a nice link, which no doubt, oh no, it just takes you to more documentation. Okay, it would be quite useful if I could maybe... Oh, so there's literally no docs on that. Just... You're on your own, mate. You want to use that, you're on your own. Not going to help you, no. You're just going to work it out. That's on your own. Why do you need help? What could you possibly need help for? You should know all this. Please have some more information. Not even found there. Wonderful. Are these all of the templates? Hopefully. Project items. Well, that's looking more positive. Debugging, well, let's have a quick search in here. Well, there's 5 issues. Okay, well, let's just search all of GitHub. Come on now, come on now. Oh, oh. Jeremy. Oh, I could kiss you. I could kiss you. I may have to ping him and be like, Jeremy, not only are you a genius, if it works. And look, you know, John has apparently got some issues as well. What did John say? Oh, we don't get to see what he says. Just who he is. Ensure .server. Yeah, but I don't. Why? I thought the whole point of this was that it was meant to be self-contained. Apparently not. I mean, that's quite a lot of different. I mean, we are going for the enterprise route, aren't we? We've got interfaces for days. I guess we can just create projects for days as well. This all just feels very bloated. So I guess this would be my client. Program. Yeah, so we got 2 mains. So 2 entry points. Is that perfectly rational? I mean, it kind of makes sense because you've got the client which is being compiled down to WebAssembly and put on the user's machine in the browser. That's starting to make a modicum of sense to me. Pennies are starting to drop. It's starting to make sense, but I'm not sure I like it. What else is going on in here? DB context. I support user. Got some controls. So what's the deal then? If you want to embed this in a, you want to fake a website to be, sorry, you want to fake an app, and you've got to bring all of .NET. Well, obviously you're going to have .NET Core, but you've got to bring ASP.NET with you. Feels a tad heavy-handed, especially by the time you've added on Electron or whatever bloated piece of garbage that you're bringing along to render this all with. Oh, that's very cute that he's got his signature. Right, so this features application hosted authentication and registration. Righto. Extended identity features to audit user creation, modification, email confirmation, and deletion. Oh, very clever. Entity framework core. Yes, well, that's the bit I'm interested in. Multiple data context. Oh, very clever. Entity framework logging. Okay. Shadow properties. The database tracks row version. The user who created the entity and timestamp, and the user who last modified the entity with it. Okay, that's quite nice. Automatic audit that tracks changes before and after snapshot. Okay, that's also interesting. Okay, I'm going to clone this. We'll do that. Yeah. Hurrah! Right, let's peruse what we've got going on here. So you launch it from the server project. Is that what they're saying? Is that what Jeremy's saying? Come on, Jeremy, help me out here. Do you prefer the Blazor server instead? No problem. Same product here. Right. Visual Studio. Ensure it's a startup. Yes. Do I have to do a migration to start with? What's it migrating? Is this a SQL, local SQLite, SQL Server? I guess. There we go. It's got its database, MS SQL. Righto. So if I try and run this, it probably isn't going to work because I don't have that database deployed. Why don't I have a nice big start button? Where have you gone? As I say, I don't think this is going to work, but it's worth a try. Ugh. Yes. Loading. Ooh. Or log in using another service. Now, there's nothing for this to be saved to, so there we go. That's what I expected. Cool. Base repository. I'm quite curious about unit of work. What's all this? What's all this? Set user, commit async, concurrency exception. Contact phone, street, city. Data access. So that's referencing the repository and the client, which is referencing the controls. Oh, Christ on a bike. And that's going to reference, oh, there we go, a base repository. We've got a base repository, of course we do. Of course we do. So actually, I was looking at the wrong repository because we've got another one over there. This has got a whole of 3 classes in. I mean, this is madness, really, if you ask me. Genuinely madness. To create an entire project just for 3 classes. I mean, we got 3 up here as well. It feels somewhat over-egged. Anyway, right, let's identity pages, shit. Oh, Jesus. Come on. Why do you need Is this genuinely how people build websites? Just endless amounts of clicking. Feels like Java. It's like you're hiding the files that are useful. Okay, it appears to only be that window or that view that's buried so deep that it's basically in Australia from where I am. Client, right, let's have a look at the client. Is that just an no, it's not empty. Well, I thought it was empty for a moment. So then we have the login display. So what was I just looking at? The login partial, which has got a nav view, a nav bar. ESP. Components, WebAssembly authentication, right. Redirect to login, another page. So that's a page that just literally forces you to navigate somewhere else. Cool. Nav menu, okay, that's familiar. I know what that is. I've seen that before. Authentication. The parameter, which is a string called action. But action's a keyword, is it not? That's thoroughly confusing. So what gets assigned there? Show me some references. I want to see what's using this. Oh, literally just that. Okay, so that's the remote authentication view. Okay, well, show me this. Or don't, because obviously it's not real, Mike. It's not real. No. Come on now. Ugh. Can I find it this way? Where do you exist? No results found. Well, you must come from somewhere. But I don't know where. I'm going to guess it comes from this assembly. But there's no way to check because it's web and it's Blazor and it's nonsense if you ask me. Oh, I don't like it. I think I'm much more inclined actually to just bash this on the head and start playing around with Uno, as Cormac suggested earlier. Get back to some rational development where you don't have to deal with horrible highlighting. You've got the ability to actually debug and hit breakpoints when and where you expect them. When something goes awry, you actually get told, what line of code something went wrong on, rather than just amberly scrolling through a browser's debug console looking at JavaScript that's been auto-generated for you. That component 81 has got something wrong with it. What on earth is component 81? Yeah, I'm not. I don't understand the fanfare. I don't understand the desire. I guess perhaps web developers are so abused that this appears enticing to them, or perhaps I'm too hot, too tired, and I'm being unfair. But first impressions, I don't get it. I don't get the appeal. The debug experience, as I see, poor. The tooling experience, poor. And those are basically the reasons that I choose a technology. To be frank, well, that and the ecosystem, and it's I will be kind. It's a young technology, so it doesn't have a rich ecosystem as yet, but there's movement there. Ugh. I feel like I potentially need to sit and read more documentation before continuing. UnoConf is next week. Well, I think I'm going to have to join the conference next week and watch. I know Matt is talking there about skier. So yeah, I think I'll definitely tune in for that. But I think I'm going to knock this on its head. I'm really not enjoying Blazor development. I think that it's madness. This to me is a step backwards from developing with desktop technologies. I much prefer developing with not just XAML. You know, I'd be quite happy to sit here and write C#, just pure C# to define my UIs. But it's this mixing of, you've got some HTML, you've got these new keywords that, apparently you can put a breakpoint in on them, but I've had one breakpoint hit during however long I've been streaming for, a couple of hours now, 2 hours 15. And as soon as I do something pretty vanilla, which is to bring in entity framework, and it's like, oh well, you need to bring in ASP.NET Core as well, and you need to create a server project, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't get it. So I think I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to read some more documentation, and next week I'm going to have a look at Uno. And I think the week after I'm going to come back to this. So I shan't give up. I shall keep persisting until it starts to make sense. But I'm going to afford myself a little break in order to investigate deeper and try and understand the rationale behind people singing the praises of this. So I appreciate you watching, and Cormac, thank you for being on the chat. It's always nice to be able to see activity there. And as I say, I'll definitely be tuning into UnoConf to check out what's happening in that space. As I say, I think next Friday I'll take that opportunity to give Uno a try and explore how I find bringing WPF to other. It's not WPF, it's UWP to other platforms. So yes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm genuinely frustrated that I've not been able to get something that works. But there we go. Life is full of frustrations, and mostly due to our own inadequacies. And I think that this is very much one of those. So thank you, and I'll be on next week. Ciao.